For generations, the custodians, those responsible for the safeguard and protection of the world from a blade most foul, have served their duty and purpose with stalwart impunity. But blades alone pose little threat without a wielder, and this fact is well understood by the demonic entity sealed within. A weapon made a prison whose warden's ceaseless vanguard eventually ceased. No single catalyst is known for the eventual fall of those bound by oath to guard the cursed blade. More likely, as is with most things, time dulls and weakens them. Though here it was no body to rot, but a mind and a spirit. The whispers of the evil one, words of tempting softness that betrays the being that produced them, finally found purchase in the thoughts of one custodian. A life of promised glory and power, simple aspirations of a man of middling authority. A perfect vessel. A path has been walked. Now travel theirs. At the end of the Wayfarer's journey, we, the readers, players, find a gallery of unique and tortured faces hailing from different places and backgrounds, all ready to begin their own pathway. Further, we are greeted with what I can only imagine is the Mist and Mirror character selection screen. Each previous character displayed with a brief backstory, starter items, and 4 stats: mind, will, faith, and strength. A quick note, might be nothing, but I really like that mind, will, and faith all come before strength, whereas I find in most other games or TTRPGs, strength is your first on the call sheet top build stat. It suggests to me it's more important to protect your mental and spiritual faculties than it is to ensure the most damage is done to others. Our character, as you may have guessed, for this speculated playthrough will be the host of the Forbidden Blade, a warped custodian whose body has fused with Ogle, the cursed blade. But who is Ogle, though? Who is this evil one? His soul was sealed within an orichalcum sword by a powerful wizard who lost his life while trapping the fearsome beast. As years went by, the demon's prison progressively twisted into an unhinged shape. The ill-fated ones that were destined to guard the weapon swore that they could hear whispers coming from it. Those foolish enough to look at its naked blade collapsed in fear, some of them even dying from sheer terror. No one has ever dared to wield it in battle. The Caged Prince is, to the best of my knowledge, Ogle, the forbidden, cursed, and evil one of mention. Orichalcum, the metal that the blade is made of, is an ancient Greek term scholars thought for platinum, or other scholars a fusion of 2 different metals, potentially an alloy of copper and gold. If it is platinum is a metal that was, upon its discovery, extremely hard to melt or liquefy. A European reference to the metal in 1557 by Julius Caesar Calger describes the metal as one which no fire nor any Spanish artifice has yet been able to liquefy. Though the description of the Caged Prince speaks of him existing in the rawest darkness, the depiction of him bears a striking resemblance to someone or a being engulfed in flame, fire, and more traditional brimstone devilry. I like to think the use of platinum would be something people, wizards, or alchemists of VERMIS would use to capture a powerful demon if they understood it was a metal that could not melt. The blade, however, has changed. Over time, it's grown into something more akin to an organic being than orichalcum. A stench-ridden weapon bound in rotting bandages, claws and nails project from its pommel, and long strands of midnight black hair spool from between the bandage gaps, hanging listless from this bizarre prison. We, the host custodian, however, begin with the blade fusing into the side of our body, almost completely replacing our arm as we begin the game. It seems that the blade may eventually consume its host entirely, or fully replace it, or perhaps grow a new body by taking the current wielders. The stats of the custodian are 1 mind, 1 will, 0 faith, and 5 strength. 5 being the highest any stat can be. So I feel that this character would play exclusively as a destructive tank, slicing, smashing, and thwacking everything with little to no dodge or move ability to avoid damage, except maybe a block. The moveset, I feel, would resemble something akin to a more sickly Nightmare from the Soul Calibur series. Less skill in swinging the sword, but potentially more power and collateral damage or force behind it. The fact that the Custodian has no faith and the reputation of the Forbidden Blade within the world, I feel is something that would affect NPCs who speak to you and where you're actually allowed to go in-game, what you can use. In all honesty, I feel that the host of the Blade probably can't use a lot of items, as one of their arms is already an item or weapon. You might be able to change armor, at least the legs, but you know that Ogle would not allow you to use any other weapon, even in your free hand. The only other item we have to start is the Broken Oath, a damaged emblem that acts as a symbol of the Custodian's conviction. Quote, "If it were lost, his mind and body would surrender completely to the blade." This gives me the impression that there are really only 2 outcomes for this character in a playthrough. His goal seems to only align with Ogle, which would be to be set free, but the Oath emblem remains still. With that, I feel that we as players could find a place, location, person, or perform some task to either fully remove all humanity and become Ogle, or the final form of the blade, or retake and reinstate our oath, and in doing so, managing to reject Ogle, maybe with a cool inside your mind style boss fight, but ultimately we would die, because our body is so altered and warped by the blade already, there's just no way we could survive. Expanding on the initial player character goal of freeing Ogle from his blade, I feel the Custodian character would start the game exactly where the Wayfarer did, but right after entering the Glass Purgatory. In the host of the Blade's description, it says, "The blade was taken by those who wished to free him, only to have the Custodian retrieve it and fall for Ogle's temptation." These individuals, I think, are the followers of Ogle, worshippers of Ogle, found by the Wayfarer. This is where they also find the blade of Ogle. Where the timelines may diverge is the Custodian reaching the blade before the Wayfarer does, retrieving it and leaving as Ogle whispers to him. Eventually, once almost completely lost and consumed by the blade, the Custodian returns to familiar lands at the behest of his conjoined master to follow the steps of an ancient librarian, a Lorekeeper of Noon or None, one who has recently come across a codex of dark writings so vile and damning that he slew his own family to prevent the spread of its knowledge. This codex could contain the ritual needed to undo what the Wizard of Yore had performed and free the caged prince. So I'm pitching that the host of the Forbidden Blades playthrough would follow the same path, locations, areas, and beats as the Lorekeeper of Noon, with some clear deviations in certain areas, more combat and such. But yeah, I can't be sure 100% if the Lorekeeper would actually go into the Glass Purgatory. It feels like the way that the book is structured is that these paths could actually be entirely different books or locations themselves, but I'm going off the idea that the book or the game being Mist and Mirrors, it is each of these characters' journeys associated with the Mist and Mirrors world or the Glass Purgatory. But yeah, so anyway, this is all just little lore morsels and speculations, but what do you think? How would the Custodian work as a character, or gameplay-wise, in a VERMIS 2 game? I'm going to be doing more videos covering the other characters, researching and speculating what, where, when, and why they might do or play the way they would in VERMIS 2. I don't feel comfortable going into the full lore of Vermis 2 without having read Vermis 1, so I'm going to be doing this series covering as much as I can in this book, but predominantly from these characters and trying to piece together how they would work. But I've been Haunted Picnic. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.